The BeagleBone, when you buy it, doesn't have a display, and even though the Linux installation on there has graphical applications, you cannot show them, or you have to buy an LCD screen. If you have a BeagleBone Black, you also have the HDMI interface and you can plug in a monitor. For the BeagleBone Green, you have to buy a separate cape with HDMI possibilities. But there is another solution. These BeagleBones are running Linux, and Linux has the XWindow mechanism, and you can use your laptop as an XWindow client and display all the graphics that are generated here on the BeagleBone. So the situation you see here is that I am running a clock on the BeagleBone, and on my Windows system on the desktop you can see that clock displayed here, and it behaves like any other Windows application. The only difference is it doesn't run here on my laptop, it runs on the BeagleBone. So let's try and see how we can set this up. To make this work, you don't have to do anything on your BeagleBone. You don't have to install new software. If you have the latest Debian image, you have everything that's needed to make this work. But on your Windows computer, you have to do something. You have to install an XWindow server. I am using cygwin for that. It's a free program that you can download. When you download cygwin and you install it, you have a Linux compatible subsystem. You can run Linux commands from that moment on, but you can also run that XWindow server that we need. Cygwin is downloadable for free from cygwin.com, and once you have the download, you can just follow the installation instructions step by step, just do next. But there is one thing that you have to do different than the default installation, and that is to take care that the XWindow environment is installed, because that's not installed by default. Once you're on the select packages screen, you scroll down until you see the X11 entry, and that's marked as default. But for X11 the default is do not install. So you click on this button until you have marked it as install. Then you click next and it will install your complete or your default cygwin installation plus XWindow installation. The first installation of cygwin takes a long time, so this is a good time to leave your house and do something fun and come back once it's installed. I'm not going to run the install now because it's already installed on my computer, but on the very last page in the installation program you get a request to create start menus and desktop icons, and I have selected yes for that. Certainly the start menu is handy because then you get an entry in your Windows startup for the XWindow server, and that's the one that we need for our exercise. Once the cygwin install is finished, you have your XWindow server. Press the Windows Start menu, type XWin, and you will see here XWindow server. Just click that icon and that's all you have to do. From this moment on, you have all the necessary software installed and running to do the exercise. A few seconds after you have launched the XWindow server, you will find that there are two new icons in your taskbar, the cygwin session and a menu. We don't use this one. You can set some configurations of cygwin with this icon, but we will keep the default. But we will use the menu here to start a graphical terminal. So I right click here, I press on the system utilities and then on Xterminal. And then you will see a screen like this one. Hey, we're not on the BeagleBone yet, so this is running on my laptop. So I'm running Linux on my laptop now. If I would do a who am I would get my local Linux account here on the computer. But that's not what we want. We want to connect to the BeagleBone, and then we want to start graphical applications and show them on our Windows screen. And the way we do that is by secure shelling into the BeagleBone. So we type SSH, and then we have to give two options to enable BeagleBone to come back to our computer and talk to the XWindow server, and that is the XY command. And then the name of your user on the BeagleBone, which is Debian, at the IP address. At this moment we're on the BeagleBone. You see the typical prompt to log in. I'll give the password here. So now we have an active session. If I type who am I here, I'll get my BeagleBone name. And from now on we can run graphical programs. XWindow comes with a logo example. It's the simplest possible example that you have that just proves that you have XWindow correctly running. So let's try that. X logo. I give an ampersand so that I get back to the command prompt even when the program hasn't shut down. It's out of your view, but if I drag it here, you see that on my Windows screen there is a Linux program running that is started on the BeagleBone. So the graphics are running on Windows, the program itself is running on Linux. If I close it, we will see a notification in our session here in our terminal that the program has finished. There we go, X logo is done. We can start another program like the calculator. So I do xcalc. And we have a calculator here that's again running on the Linux system, but that displays its information on my Windows. There's a number of applications that you can use. Just check out your user bin folder on BeagleBone to see what applications start with an X. Typical they are demo programs or they are part of the installation. There are a few funny ones like the eyes here that always follow your mouse. And this shows how straightforward it is to show graphical information on your BeagleBone even if you don't have the screen. As long as you have a machine that can run an XWindow service, and that can be another Linux machine or in my case a Windows machine, you're good. If we wanted, we could show a whole Linux desktop system like KDE on my laptop screen, but there is none installed in the default Debian image, so I've left that out here. But all in all, setting up a system that can show the graphics that are generated on your BeagleBone, even if you don't have a display or if you don't have an HDMI interface, is straightforward.